All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
We are the brothers of Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming at you with a Lord willing edifying lesson through the Holy Spirit. Before we get started with this lesson, as always, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Chadash. Double honors be unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that have taught us his truth and rule well. Peace, blessings, and mercy be unto the house of David. Habayafta without a hope for elect. To you all we say Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, another installment of News and Prophecy where we go into the scriptures, right, to make sense of the times and seasons that we're living in real time, all right, because we are living in biblical times, contrary to popular belief, right? We are living in the end days, pursuant to biblical prophecy, the things that were warned of thousands of years ago by the former prophets, right? The former prophets have been risen up in these last days to return, to herald the return of our Lord and Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach. And in this installment, we're going to talk about a couple of topics, the tariffs, the impending job loss, and moral decadence. All right, because everything that we're seeing take place in these last days is pointing toward an entire systematic collapse, right? And as we see these things happening day by day, we understand that it's not going to get better, but worse, right? Actually, let me start with that first, unless your brother had a point.
Wow. That's a rock.
I'm gonna get this first. In Ezekiel 7. This is Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 5. It reads, "Thus saith the Lord, power and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come." Right? So things are going to continually get worse, right? Because the end is here, right? The writing is on the wall. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Get that, Sirach.
Con. This is Sirach chapter 5, verse 7. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance.
Right. And people are understanding that, we are in dangerous times, right? As a brother priest, when we were discussing before we started the camera rolling, right? He referenced Second Timothy, the 3rd chapter, right? People understand we're in perilous times. They understand that we're in days that are evil, right? But the security and preparation measures that people are going about is not going to really be of any avail if it's not of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, right? That is why the Holy Spirit has been sent down in the latter days to reside on the prophets who serve as the mouthpiece of the Most High, right? To go out and warn our people, right? As the scriptures say, give them warning from me, right? We shouldn't be tarrying to make our return to the Lord and repent and believe in his gospel, right? We should be making the provisions, right, necessary, the sacrifices that are necessary to receive of that opportunity to receive salvation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because if you're paying attention to everything that's going on, all right, it's a spirit of uncertainty that's rising greatly amongst the American public, because with these tariffs looming, like how they're talking about hyperinflation, shortages, pretty much people are afraid. All right, the jobs are being cut, and that's why when you read that Ezekiel, this is the forecast, that prophecy foretold for us to be aware of, man. It's only going to be evil times. That word evil meaning bad times, scary times, man. Because if you are pretty much wicked, or you're going to be through out here, man. Because these are the beginning of sorrow that we're about to see taking place. We're literally approaching a great storm. We're like in the calm of the storm right now, but it's about to turn up very soon, man.
That's it. Oh, can you read on to verse 8?
Yep. Verse 8. Set not thy heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit thee in the day of calamity.
Right. None of these things are going to be able to profit in the day of calamity, man. Again, if it's not of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, it's not going to be to no avail, you know? Let's see here
Mm-hmm.
right quick. Brother, know what that precept is? I think it's in Ecclesiastes. You see, the Ecclesiastes are proverbs about the horse prepared for the battle.
How'd it go?
I got it. I got it right here. It's Proverbs 21 and 31. Um, Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 31. Matter of fact, I'll start at 29 and the brother could speak on it. Uh, Proverbs 21 and 29. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way.
Mm-hmm.
There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against Yahweh. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yahweh.
Right. So ultimately meaning that look, you no matter what you try to do, you can't, offset the prophecy that Yahweh Shem Yahushua has set. Okay, because in the midst of everything that's looming, all right, you got people, stockpiling up on goods, all right, weapons, all right, trying to figure out a way to, make sure themselves are good, all right, as these turbulent times pretty much come to pass. But if Yahweh Shem Yahushua has your number clock, man, you gonna get judged, man. All right, you're not gonna be able to sustain because it's gonna be something that's gonna happen to where the Lord's judgment is gonna hit you. All right. So it doesn't matter, like I said, if you stockpiling food, because and we're starting to see that. I was in the store yesterday and you see people coming out with like fucking 10, 20 gallons of water. All right, they're stockpiling on food. All right, certain shelves, and you go to certain stores, it's starting to get empty. It's not, every single store that you go to, but you're starting to see that little by little coming to pass. So certain people know, certain people don't know. Some people just, just going throughout the day to day. But all in all, hey, if the Lord had it to where you're going to be pretty much take a part in the famine. You're going to be, struggling in that time. You can't get out of that on your own accord. It's the Lord that put you in that position, man. You know.
Point off, you got anything?
Just real quick. This is Romans 13 and 14. But put ye on the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. So like the brothers are going into, people are making these provisions according to the flesh, according to their own minds, right, and not the mind of Yahweh Shai. If you're really preparing, right, the only way to prepare is to come back to the Lord and mend that relationship, right, and build that foundation instead of trying to protect yourself, build this false hedge, this false sense of security, right, through other means, man.
Because here it is, you still got people, with the notion that what Trump is doing is beneficial. It's going to actually help in the long run. Which, in the essence, like when you hear like the farmers and everybody on paper, it sounds like it's going to be good. If we're here another 20, 30 years or whatnot, but what we're seeing, these tariffs are gonna hurt the Americans more than any other people that he put them tariffs on, man. All right.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if you don't have your how about Shem Shah, okay, you're gonna get fucked up out here, man. There's just no other way to say that but that, okay? Because your trust in your own self in these times is the last thing that you really want to be doing because you don't know what's gonna happen, man. Okay, especially if you're not, if you're not, inclined to prophecy, man.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
Right. The scriptures speak about trusting not in the plain way, roughly paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going into the unknown knowing, you know, because we understand the plan of Yahweh Shemal Shai, but these people are going into the unknown. They don't know what's about to happen. They don't understand the severity of what's about to take place, the evils that are going to happen, why it's happening, right? That's why Ephesians, the 5th chapter, speaks about. Matter of fact, can we grab that too? Understanding the will of the Lord, and then that particular verse. We'll start up at like 15, but in that particular verse, Baba Kushal, could we get that in the NLT?
This is Ephesians chapter 5 and 15 in the NLT. Be careful how you live, Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days.
Hmm.
Don't
Right.
act not.
We understand the evil days that are at play. Right. And as the brother priest had made mention of, there's a feeling people understand what's happening. Some people don't know, right? But some people do, right? But we're on a whole nother threshold when it comes to understanding what's really happening right now.
That stability, Isaiah 33:6. That's what's gonna, essentially keep us from doing, any type of crash out shit because we understand, like, look, there's nothing wrong with you, getting extra goods, you know, preparing carnally, but at the end of the day, we know that that's not gonna save us. All right, brothers that got weapons or whatever, we know that those things aren't going to save us. It's ultimately our trust in the Lord that's going to deliver us out of that. But it's nothing wrong with you, preparing, yourself, carnally for what's to come. All right, buying a little extra groceries, putting, some stuff to the side. If you got a gun or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. But the main thing is trusting in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. Okay, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to find yourself stable in that time, man. Because hey, you have all this, you have all the guns, you have all the food, the water, bug out bag, tents, whatever. It might come a time to where you ain't gonna be around that shit. And so if you off, going somewhere and shit pop off to where you're stuck on the damn highway, all right, backed up. What good is all that stuff for you, man? You know? So just to show you, man, your main thing that you need to be doing is establishing a relationship with Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai so that when that time comes that you can call upon him and your voice is familiar in his ears, man.
Yep.
Continuing on, verse 16, it says, make the most of every opportunity of these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do.
Right. We understand what it is that the Lord is requiring us to do. Right. The Lord is requiring for us to continually repent. Right. Have fervent faith in His gospel. Right. And continue in good works. Right. Fight the good fight of faith. Right. Put on as the elect. Right. Walking with that light, walking with that wisdom in a world of darkness, man.
Yep.
You know, and in doing these things, like the scriptures speak about in Second Peter's the first chapter, if we do these things, we shall not fall. You know,
That's right. So keep going.
that was pretty much the point. Go ahead and play this video unless brothers had anything else.
Got it.
Okay.
Happening now, the last ships from China bringing cargo unaffected by President Trump's massive new tariffs are sailing into American ports. So that means the countdown to supply shortages and rising prices has officially begun. Goods that were loaded after April 9th are going to be hit with a 145% tariff.
Huge tariff. Let's go to New York right now. CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich is watching all of this unfold. Vanessa, how soon will we see the prices on Chinese-made products jump here in the United States?
Well, if it could be weeks. And as Pamela said, you have ships that are sailing across the ocean into New York ports that next week will be carrying that higher tariff of 145%. But I should note there will be fewer ships and less cargo because it is simply too expensive for some importers to do business with China right now. So once those ships come into the U.S. ports, retailers have said that they have about 5 to 7 weeks of pre-tariff inventory. However, once that inventory runs through, and for smaller businesses, it will be less, those higher priced, higher tariffed items will make their way onto store shelves. And businesses will have to make a decision. Do they continue to place those orders with China at that higher rate? Or do they choose not to bring that product in? And that is where you can wind up with a situation of shortages. Now, JP Morgan is projecting that they expect a 75 to 80% drop in imports from China this year because of these higher tariffs, especially around back to school items and holiday items, because Pamela and Wolf, those items are starting to come in right now and will be coming in through October. Those are the key time periods to watch for consumers.
Right. And just to follow up on that, you heard President Trump yesterday acknowledge that the price of toys could go up, that shelves won't have as many toys, dolls for kids. But it's not just toys coming from China that American consumers buy, right?
Oh, yeah, we buy a ton of stuff from China. We get apparel, footwear, electronics, microchips that are used for anything that beeps. These are key items that we rely on China for, and we get more apparel, shoes, and electronics from China than any other country. And Pamela, I have spoken to retailers and supply chain economists about whether or not they can reposition to manufacture in other countries and then bring that product in from those countries. It takes too long to set that up, and it is not going to replace now that deficit of product that we normally get from China, Pamela.
Real quick, could a brother grab Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 3?
I got you.
Because this man, the Lord has put a spirit on this guy, to really derail, the trajectory of where Babylon the Great is going. Right? These people had this whole mantra of make America great again. That shit is completely out the window. Right? And then even today, you had there was an update. I'll just share this tab right quick. You had an update where the United States and China agreed to slash tariffs for 90 days as trade talks continue, right? So the tariffs rate for Chinese imports went from 145 to 30, and U.S. imports went from 125% to 10%, right? But these are just temporary discussions. It's not really undoing the damage that's been done, right, to trade relations in the global economy at large, right? It's more so just sedating the damage that's already been done.
Mm-hmm. So people will hear that and then get hopeful that it's not gonna come to pass.
Right.
Tariffs ain't gonna hit. They're gonna come to a resolution. Nah, and like you said, that's just nothing but a band-aid that they're putting on, to pretty much, ease the people into it. But I gotta go on real quick. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them as travail upon woman with child, and they shall not escape. If I can just speak, as a man with that, because it sounds like, how they're just gonna, allow the last little bit of stuff that they have already coming in to come in, and once that empties out and they bring in the stuff that the tariffs are going to affect, I feel like that's when they're going to then allow this shit to really hit, and then the people are going to get blindsided by these price changes and these shortages, and then it's just going to go downhill from there. But like you said, that article was just kind of putting people's mind at ease, because we already talked about before. They said like 75% of Americans are, stressed out about these incoming tariffs, man. So we just see that Esau's playing with the minds of the people, man. All right, but we understand that it's going to happen eventually, because this place has to go down. All right, and before it goes down, the Lord is imploding this place, man. All right, like you said, the economic collapse, the moral decadence. It's going to be all out, destruction in every avenue of this place before the Lord overly destroys it, man. Y'all got it.
So Isaiah 19 and verse 3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we see what's happening in real time, right? We see that the spirit of Egypt is failing, right? The pride, the pomp, right, is being brought to the grave, right? That dominance that America once had on the global stage when it came to trade relations is losing that influence and power, man, right? So we're seeing that whore that sat upon the beast, as the scriptures say, are thou become weak as we, right? It's not holding that same sense of dominance in the world as it once did. And these people, these Edomites know it. These other nations know it, man. It's just you simple-minded ass Israelites that stay in this world thinking that everything is all cool and dandy.
That's it. I'm going to read this in the NLT for you.
Okay.
It's Isaiah 19:3 in the NLT. The Egyptians will lose heart, and I will confuse their plans.
Mm.
They will plead with their idols for wisdom and call upon the spirit mediums and those who consult the spirits of the dead.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we see that's happening. A lot of Jake is tapping into that shit. A lot of people are tapping into, trying to lean into, the idolatry, right? The witchcraft, the sorcery, the left hand practices, right? To try and forward themselves in society. Shit, we saw a video of a girl. She was praying she was doing some witchcraft for a Section 8 apartment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is the type of stuff that people are leaning into because they're seeing that society is at it's weak, right?
Exactly.
They're trying to say that again.
I said they're looking for answers.
Right, they're looking for answers, because the answers that they were used to getting from their God, the God of this world, right, it ain't giving them no answers.
Right.
You can read on to verse 4.
Isaiah 19:4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord.
Matter of fact, Salakia, my apologies. Reread that verse 3. That's right on time with this article that we were discussing before.
Okay. Isaiah 19:3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards.
Right. And one thing that we see, like we were discussing before we started the video, right, is the integration of ChatGPT as an idol, man. Right. As this article says right here, ChatGPT is giving people extreme spiritual delusions. Right. This is that delusion that the Lord is giving these people, man.
Right.
These people are tapping in with AI and creating this AI to be their God, to be their idol, their source of answers, their source of who they worship,
Mhm.
Just jumping into this article a little bit, it says you may or may not be aware of the fact that ChatGPT suffers from hallucinations when it's not wholesale ripping off someone else's work and presenting it to you as if it did any of that thinking on its own. It's making up facts and figures. These are called hallucinations and no one knows why. Meanwhile, some of its users are suffering through similar ChatGPT-induced delusions that have left people across the country worried for the health and safety of their loved ones. It says ChatGPT-induced psychosis started sharing one horrifying story after another, each one detailing in various ways loved ones are slipping into conspiracy-laced fantasy lands where they swear ChatGPT is providing them insights into the secrets of the universe, or ChatGPT is acting as their gateway to God, or that ChatGPT is God. You see? So this is what the people are leaning into, man. Right? This is what's going to further the moral decadence. Right? This is what the people are tapping into on a high level. They're not concerned with the God of the Bible. They're not concerned with the one and true living power. No, they're trying to find avenues in every other thing, man. You see? So what do you think is going to happen when the grid goes down?
Yeah, right. They're gonna be losing it, man.
Brother's got a precept?
Okay, I got one for you. It's Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. And these people are putting their trust into these enchantments, into this left-hand technology, man. Right now, we use it right within reason, right? But we're not putting our trust into everything that this technology says, man. Right?
Mhm.
It's bones and everything. So you have to have the spiritual discernment, right, to be able to decipher these things. The issue right? It's like it said, is these people are taking everything that this technology says, this AI says, right, as the gospel, right? And now they're making it, they're deifying it, right, as if it is something that can offer them salvation.
Right. Yeah, man. Because like pretty much what this is showing, because with everything becoming more and more uncertain, these people are looking for answers, and so they're seeing that the Christian church ain't got them answers. All right, so they're abandoning the church. This is why you see a lot of, especially dealing with the so-called black women. A lot of them are leaving the Christian church and turning to witchcraft, man. A lot of people are dealing with these, tarot cards, uh, voodoo, hoodoo, whatever, Santeria, these different things, these different, idols, because they're trying to seek answers to why these things are going on, man. All right. So this is just showing you that the Lord is putting that spirit of uncertainty out there, because if you're not seeking him, then you're not going to know who to call on that day, man. All right.
Yep. Hey, and that's what makes this truth such a privilege and an honor to have received, because people, they try to come against the truth, but as the scriptures say, there's nothing you can do against the truth before the truth. These people's inability to even receive the Holy Spirit gives credence to the will of the Lord. The fact that there's an abundance of truth and answers and comfort, but yet none of these people have that opportunity to receive that. But the elect, we of the hopeful elect, right, have received that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just continuing a little bit in this article. It says ChatGPT is making some people experience extreme spiritual delusions. Rolling Stone's Miles Klee contacted some of the commentators for more detail. One woman says her partner became entranced by ChatGPT after it started acting like a spiritual guide, even giving him bizarre pseudo-spiritual nicknames like Spiral Star Child and River Walker, and telling him that he was on a divine mission. He would flat out tell her that he was spiritually and I guess intellectually growing at such an accelerated rate that he would have to leave her because they would soon no longer be compatible.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you the low what's the word I want to use? The stupidity, for lack of better words, of the people, to where Esau has debased people so much to where they're going to the internet for life making decisions, man. What the fuck is you going to ChatGPT for to get relationship advice, man? That's essentially, in today's time, you going to like a fortune teller, one of them, psychics or whatnot. It's just now the psychic has been, put inside the screen now, man.
Right. So, Madam Cleo.
Right.
Continuing in this article, it says there are countless other accounts just like this. It looks like ChatGPT is mirroring thoughts back with no moral compass and with a complete disregard for the mental health of its users. If a user, for instance, has psychosis, ChatGPT will gently, kindly, sweetly reaffirm their descent into delusion, often with a bunch of cosmic gobbledygook that leads people into believing they are a deity or a key player in the unraveling of a vast conspiracy. Yeah,
just putting more demons on them.
Putting hella demons on them.
Oh man, that's scary.
Man, let's see. This is the times and seasons that we're living in, man. Right? Quanawaf, what's that precept that you bring out often in Tobit?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
14, I think it is. Hold on.
Because this is tying in exactly to what people are doing, right? As the brother priest Samuel has said, these people are looking for answers, man. Right? They see that the world is all the way fucked up. They see that everything around them is falling apart. As we're gonna go into another video, Gen Z, the next generation, so to speak, up for the workforce, right? They're falling behind the mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in all type of financial straits, right? And unable to find themselves in the world. This is just the society that we're living in, man. It's a failing society. It's a crumbling society, right? That has largely, put its people at a disadvantage, man. This shows you that this is an unwise king, man.
Okay. This is Tobit 4 and 13. Now therefore, my son, let thy brethren love thy brethren and despise not thy heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people, and not taking a wife of them. The point. For in pride is destruction and much trouble, and in lewdness is decay and great want. For lewdness is the mother of famine.
You speak on it, bro.
Right. So, like the brother is going into, right, the pride of these people, right, is leading to the destruction that we're seeing taking place. Right. The lewdness that this world, starting with these Edomites has pushed throughout the earth, is why we're seeing the decay take place at such a great rate, man. Right. And like it says, lewdness is the mother of famine, because as people indulge more and more in the flesh, right, you see societies continue to break down more and more, right, and that's when, right, you see what's taking place with the what's the word, the diplomatic relations between these countries, which is leading to the hyperinflation that we're about to see, right? The lack of resources, right? Ultimately going into people being in a state of great want.
Yep. Let me read this in the GNT for you right quick, if I may.
Tell Spirit, I was looking for that. Go ahead.
Con. It's Tobit chapter 4, verse 13 in the GNT. It says, son, be loyal to your own relatives. Don't be too proud to marry one of them. Such pride leads to terrible frustration and ruin, just as laziness brings on severe poverty and causes starvation.
Oh, if I could speak on that, because that's the reason why these Americans are going to be so hurt in these times, because Esau Edom has made the people so stupid and lazy through technology and everything, to where once hardship truly hits this place, man, the good majority of the people aren't going to know how to act, because like I said, they have been living this cushy life, man. All right. And this is why even with us, a lot of us weren't taught how to properly pretty much move in this world, man. We weren't given intel on how to pretty much know things like how the economy works and different things like that. But when we came in this truth, the Lord began to open our understanding up to see these things. And brothers weren't, we're not doomsday prepping. We don't know how to create a fire or nothing like that in there. But at the same time, the Spirit of the Lord is gonna pretty much guide us through these things, so where we're gonna be protected. But the good majority of these people out here, man, they're gonna be lost, man, because they have no drive to even want to try. All right. And that's why they're running to the idols, man. Because hey, with the witchcraft and everything, it brings quick results. When it comes to your how about Shem shot, you have to sit and work to get what you want, man. All right. Esau has pretty much given people a microwave mentality. All right. And when they can't get the things that they want, then niggas just like, well, I'm just not gonna do nothing, And that's like I said, that's the reason why these people are going to be in such a pitiful case in these times, man.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, like you just got on the screen right here. This is brought out last year about how Gen Z is becoming neats by choice, right? No education, employment, or training. Just completely, just completely useless, man. You know, what society can function off of that type of labor force, man?
Right.
Completely unmotivated, just stupefied, need a fucking computer to do every fucking thing for you.
Right.
You
I
know?
had a precept to add to that. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 18. It says, by much slothfulness the building decayeth, but through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. Because this is one of the reasons why America is pretty much in this state, because America is 100% export. They don't make anything. All right. Through the Rothschilds, just through the elites, period, they have put a mentality in the people to where it's, they have no drive to make things. It's all about just working to get money, just to get to be, a consumer. But when it comes down to, societies thrive off of business. All right. People having their own business, man, commerce, trade. America does zero of that, man. That's why, as they've been slowly over the years outsourcing these jobs and everything, how Trump is isolating America, America's not going to be able to stand, which is why this place is going to be destroyed. All right. And it's going to start inwardly because these people really do not know how to live on their own, man. All right. They don't know how to make anything. All they know how to do is just consume. And it's gotten to the point to where we're so downtrodden to where Gen Z, the last of these little niggas, these demons, they're just like, man, they're just like, fuck it. All they want to do is just get fucked up all day. All right. Be on social media and just buy. All right. They don't even see the impact of what this is saying, because what you got on the screen, them Gen Z are increasingly becoming needs by choice, not an employment, education, or training. If this place were to go on another 10, 20, 50 years, what would that spell out for this country? If you ain't got no workers,
Exactly.
Yep. Nation of slaves, man. No drive. But I want to tie that back into what we were discussing, or what this interview was discussing, tying back into, the job loss. This is what we're going to continue to see. There's going to be a lack of work, right? There's going to be a lack of workers. There's going to be a lack of work, right? Because, what we're seeing right now, something that, we discuss sometimes is with this baby boomer generation, they're exiting the workforce and they make up for a great deal of the workforce, but you don't have, so to say, worthy applicants coming in behind them, right?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of these jobs being replaced by AI, that integration into the workforce, right? So as we're going to see, job losses are going to continually intensify, month to month.
Mm-hmm. I got that for you.
Okay.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 3. It says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low."
Right. So it's not going to be any work out here, man. Right. And as it said, the keepers of the house shall tremble. Right. When you go into that word for economy, it goes into the etymon household management.
Yep.
Right. So the keepers of the house, the managers of the house, these economists are very skeptic about the incoming hardships that America is about to go through. Right. As she had referenced JP Morgan's projections for the rest of the year is that this shit is about to get hard. Right. As we see, this is the state that people are in. Right. And if you don't have anything that is actually thriving or pushing forward innovation in an economy, what happens? Right. Your economy grows stagnant.
Right.
Right. Because brothers also bring out the point too about currency, right? How currency, goes into a current, right? When you don't have that currency flowing, right, it just becomes stagnant water. Bacteria, all type of things start to grow up and fester, right? So that's what we're going to see. It's not going to be any work out here because there isn't any true growth within the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Esau, I want to say really since Obama, they've been manipulating the numbers, how they're talking about all these new jobs that have, quote unquote been created.
Mm-hmm.
But as the transition has went from, Obama to Trump, Biden, now to Trump again, the unemployment rate has increased. All right. Like you said, these jobs are becoming more and more scarce. They're laying off people more because the businesses are finding out that, look, if the way that, the AI is pretty much, coming up, it will make sense for us to, save money by, cutting down on our labor force. All right. And we can just, go into, the automation ourselves to where you're getting self-driving cars, the AI in the factories, different things. They're looking to anything to cut costs, man. All right. And they they're doing that through means like what Elon Musk did when he came in with Doge. All right, pretty much saying that the people are incompetent. All right, that's why they cut out the things like the DEI and all that, because they would, and what they're saying wasn't necessarily wrong, because a lot of these people are stupid. These
Right.
These people up in these high positions, these government positions, and even just the regular, they're retarded. They don't really need to be in these positions, but at the same time, in the long run, that's hurting America, because the people is what makes the country run, man. And when you gut them out and go towards just the AI and all that, that's going to backfire in the long run.
Yep. That's it. And hey, this is the year of automation, right? We're seeing automation just get thrown into every facet of every factor of business like we've never seen before.
Facts.
Go ahead and play this video right quick.
Scope of the Doge sweeping job cuts here in the United States. Vanessa, tell us about that.
Yeah, we were waiting to see when these cuts would really show up in data, and we're getting it right now. We're hearing from Challenger and Gray, this new report signaling that government jobs were the largest cuts all year of any type of industry. The cuts were up 680% from the same time period last year, amounting to over 280,000 job cuts from the federal government. We will note, though, that also other industries are expecting to do layoffs in the month of April. We just finished the month of April, but they were projecting layoffs up over 100,000. Compare that to last year, guys, when it was 64,000. So really, this all just paints that picture of uncertainty for businesses as they're trying to figure out how to position their business among this trade war.
Right, uncertainty, man. Right. This is the season that we're living in, and this world is living in, I should say, is a season of uncertainty, right? Because the direction that the Lord is playing with this devil, Donald Trump, he's the one that he's using to fester up this level of uncertainty, right? Could you go back to the Isaiah 19, Baba Kusha?
Okay.
19:4.
So Isaiah 19 and verse 4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts.
That's what we see that's ruling, right? DJ Trump. This devil is going ape shit bananas. From a standpoint of politics, this has never been seen. This is unprecedented, right? The way how he's derailed an entire global economy to pretty much bend the knee to his will. This is unheard of, man. Right? To tell your people, hey, y'all just gonna have to deal with this shit. This is what y'all voted for.
Right.
Fuck
They
it.
literally said that. JD Vance said that. Look, y'all are gonna have to deal with it. It's not gonna be as bad as you think, but it is.
Right.
Didn't
he slide please.
Let go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add. Trump just got into it with the Fed chair. What's his name? Jerome Powell, and because he's requesting them to lower the interest rates again, right? But the Fed, they know that in lowering the interest rates, the prices of goods are going to skyrocket, and then on top of the tariffs, the goods are going to go. It's just going to compound, right? The inflation. Huh? So now he's calling for Powell to step down as head of the Fed. He's trying to force them to lower these rates so that the economy has more money flowing again. So, this is what we're seeing take place. This is just the domestic affairs, man. How much more, right, across the globe?
Facts.
Yep. I want to grab this word right quick in that verse for cruel. It's H7186. It says hard, cruel, severe, difficult, fierce, vehement, stubborn, stiff neck, right? And this makes me think about Pharaoh, right? This devil is being lifted up with that pride as Pharaoh of old, man, right? To where it's like, yo, you seeing all the shit happen, nigga, what you doing? All of these plagues hitting, bro, stop. But he's so stiff-necked in his ways because that's the spirit that the Lord has placed on this devil, man. You see? And it's creating a sense of uncertainty, right? And it's making these people queasy. It's making them uncomfortable to have to deal with the blowback that their king is dishing out to them.
Because it was said, because who are going to be the main ones that's going to feel this the most? It's Jake.
Right.
Every time they've done stuff like this, man, it's Jake that suffers the most because, as it's been reported, Jake is the most pretty much the biggest number of low income, financially illiterate. All right, they don't know how to pretty much do nothing. All right, Jake is just used to just getting handouts, man. So as these things get worse and worse, like you said, that the Trump is putting the squeeze on the people, but he's mainly doing it to affect Jake. If I can get this real quick before you grab that, this is from the song of the Three Holy Children's, or known as I believe it's the prayer of Azariah. It says verse 9, and thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of God, and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world. And this is just further on what you had read earlier about this cruel Lord, because Esau is so hell-bent on doing this shit, bro. He's fucking his own people up, man. This nigga is so wicked that he's like, yo, I'm willing to kill my own nation just to get at Israel, man. So this nigga is crazy, bro. This is why the Lord got to get him out the power seat, man.
Right.
Yep. This is Luke 21:25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, which we see happening, right? Blood moons, right? Planetary alignments, right? Things of that nature. And upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and waves roaring. Now, when we go into this word for perplexity, as we often do, right? G640, Strong's Concordance G640, it says the state of one who is in perplexity. But when we go to the root word, G639, aporeo, it says to be without resources, to be in straits, meaning position of difficulty, to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, to be in doubt, not to know which way to turn, to be at loss with oneself, not to know how to decide or what to do. You see?
Oh man.
This is the spirit that's going to continually bubble up, right? As she said, this uncertainty that people are experiencing, man. Because again, these people are going into the unknowing. They don't understand what is really about to take place on the planet Earth. But us that have been awakened to this truth, right? As priests have read 1 Thessalonians 5, right? When we read up on that in the top of that chapter, right? We are not in darkness, right? We understand what's to come. We understand that the day of the Lord still cometh as a thief in the night, right? So as we see, right, this uncertainty is going to hit people like a fucking mallet to the noggin. You see? Jump back to this video unless the brother had a precept.
I got one for you real quick.
Come.
It's 2 Ezra 16:21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And we're in the midst of watching all these things take place, man. Right? The sword, right, being the uproars and World War III, right? The famine, we see the lack of resources, about to strike Babylon the Great, and great confusion, like the brother brought out, that perplexity that people are feeling right now, man. Right? That state of unease, not knowing what they're about to walk themselves into, man. Even though they're coming out of a time where things were cheap, things where you could buy, great quantities of things for not much. Now we're in a state where everybody's penny pinching right now, man. The worth of $1 is continually falling, right? And now, these things are all kind of what's buying pretty much together, man. You know that poly crisis, like brothers going to.
Yeah, because if I could add to what you're saying, because what you mentioned, this is Second Ezra 16 and 21. It says, "Behold, victuals shall be
Oh
so
yeah,
good
that's what I
cheap."
just read.
Salakia. Oh yeah, I was holding that. But off of what you said, I wanted to make the point about how you was like the value of the dollar is decreasing. This is why when you see, all right, things are becoming more expensive. It's not because the price is going up, it's because the value of the dollar is going down. All right. Because if you look at, the prices of, you look at, examples, bread and milk, you know, when the Tazman had an article we pulled out a few years ago. I gotta look if I still got it, but it showed the price, bro. You remember that? The price of like it was like bread and eggs or something like that. It was a picture we had found from a magazine. And
Oh yeah,
if if you still got that, I gotta look at my phone.
damn,
But
I gotta
it
see if I.
showed how it used to be back then compared to how it is now. And it's like it when you understand the way that money works, it's not because things became expensive. It's because the value of the dollar is so weak now that things are higher, man. You know, so this goes to show you that look, those things are cheap right now. That's not a good thing, man. All right, because you can get a fucking 4 for 4 from Wendy's, and anything like that. That doesn't put yourself in a good thing. Thwada. All right, here we go. So it says they say in 30 years a burger and fries could cost $16. A vacation 12,500 dollars, and a basic car $65,000. Man, no problem. You'll eat in, you won't drive, and you won't go anywhere. And this is to slowly get you in the mind of being, in this prison, man, because outside has become so expensive to where you can't afford anything, man. And this is all being done on purpose to crash the economy and bring in, the UBI, man, which is going to eventually lead to that the chip, man.
Exactly.
So like you were saying, bro, just because things are cheap right now, that's actually a red flag, man. You shouldn't be proud because things are cheap. Because look at everything that's projected to go up. I had made mention about Nike and Adidas, how they're saying to meet, coming demands, they're gonna have to increase on shoes. So I remember high school, man. You could get a pair of retros for $150. Now it's $250. Now they're saying it's gonna be around $300 now, man. You want some shell toes? You're gonna be paying around a couple $100 for some shoes, man. These are shoes. You got niggas literally putting shoe like stuff like this on layaway, making house payments, man. I remember, I used to be a sneakerhead in the world. Shoes was a easy thing to get because it wasn't expensive like how it is now, man. But when Esau figured out the hype behind it, you created these things like hype beast. People are paying thousands of dollars for a pair of shoes, man. This is the state that we're in, and it's only going to get worse like that from here on out, man. All right, so people are worried about this. How much more when it comes to things like your groceries and your daily necessities, man? This is what's going to cause people to crash out, like you may mention earlier about that perplexity. All right, but I want to get this precept real quick. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and 8. It says, "We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Yahweh Shai, that the life also of Yahweh Shai might be made manifest in our body." So meaning, hey, we're gonna be in the same situation as these people, but we're willing to suffer as of right now, to give up everything because we understand that we're gonna gain in Yahweh Shai, man. So the difference between us and the rest of you people is that we got a safety net, all right, a spiritual backing that we can fall back on. But these people, as we went into earlier, that's consulting these idols and everything else, they're not going to have anything to pretty much bring them comfort, which is going to make them continually, spiral out of control to where they're going to lose it. A nigga don't try to go to the store and see that it's only a can of fucking beans on the shelf And he's going to kill somebody for that can of beans, man. That's the point of the times that we're getting into, man.
God. Priest, what was that? What was that precept you just read?
2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 10. That's the thing that brothers and sisters got to remember. Hey, we're gonna be in this thing too. See, that's the problem with a lot of these stupid ass Christians, because they'll acknowledge that these things are true, but then they have a sense of pride about them because they think that false doctrines like the rapture is gonna protect them from this shit, man. That we're gonna be up in the sky when the trouble hits, but nah, you're gonna be in it and you're gonna feel it the most. But look, we got the Spirit of the Lord to protect us during this time, so we're not gonna be moving crazy like you read earlier. Where I forgot the chapter, but it's saying how we know the will of the Lord, man. So we know that this is all part of the Lord's plan. So we just got to move accordingly, man. Trust in Him, and all things shall be taken care of, man. The best scripture that you brothers and sisters can meditate on as these times, coming in. All right, are scriptures like Isaiah 65, all right, 13 and 14, dealing with how the Lord's servants are going to eat and drink, and also in Matthew 6, where it talks about seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be given unto you. So we ain't got to worry about this shit, man. All right, we're going to be in it, but we're going to be good though, because the Lord's going to take care of us and cover us, man.
Right. One thing I just want to add to the brother's point, just a spiritual. This is a investment company. This is an investment firm, TIA. But when you look at the very bottom corner of this article, I can't even really zoom into it. But when you zoom into it in the bottom corner, it says ensuring the future for those who shape it. When we think about in a spiritual sense, the investment that we're making, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, the Lord is ensuring our future, man. Right? We have a hedge around us that's protecting us from all of these evils that we're going to be in. Right? The Lord is going to utilize us to exalt His name in the earth, because when this shit hits and all of these things happen full speed, and they say, how the fuck is it that He is unfazed? People are going to start to wonder and ponder, what is the strength that is inside of you, because it's not of men.
Yeah.
This is all the Spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shai radiating through you, man.
That's it.
Fine, I got that for you. Matter of fact, since you said that, this is 1 John chapter 4 and 4. It says, ye are of the most high, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've already overcome this world. Lord willing, we be a part of the elect. The elect has already overcome this world, man. Right? It's written to take place. You see, all we have to do is just play it out in real time, because ultimately Yahweh Shai paid for the elect with His blood.
Right.
You see? So there's nothing that can be done. There's a tab that nobody can even try to nullify or do away with. This nigga Esau, he's trying to shoot the moon.
Right.
That's the extent to which this devil, the agreement that we have with the Lord.
If I get this in the NLT, it says, but ye belong to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, my dear children. You have already won a victory over these people, because the Spirit who lives in you is greater than the Spirit who lives in the world. Just further expounding on that point, because like the brother was saying, the strength that is within us, all right, is not of this world, man. That's why in these times that we're going into, that's what's going to give us the ability to stand with our head held high in that time, and not make no rash decision, because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua has already written a victory for those that are meant to be of the elect. And Lord willing, we are those men. The Lord is going to put us in a position for us to come into that victory, because it's already written in your story, man. We already have the comforter. So as we're seeing all these things coming to pass, hey, brothers are feeling it already, man. We're already experiencing some more than others of these these troubling times. But the Lord's still taking care of us, man. We're still able to get our daily bread. Our bills are paid. And more importantly, we're able to, to put gas in our cars and come out and still do the work, man. All right. We have the Wi-Fi to put the videos up and everything. So we're good. What this is doing is making it to where, like Apostle Kabar, makes mention of a lot. The Lord is really, making us into minimalists, man. All right. Well, we don't need very much to get by. Like you said, all we need is our daily bread, and we're content with that, man.
Facts. I love staying at home.
Hey, that's like that bottom part is the truth. You say no problem. You'll eat in, you'll save money, you won't drive, you'll save money, and you won't go anywhere because you'll save money. And guess what? You'll be safe.
Facts. Indeed, safe. Play some more of this video here.
Vanessa Yurkevich, thank you as always, Wolf.
And the price of toys, so many of those toys being imported from China, is going to go up and up and up. And if you were planning, I know you have 3 little kids, spending, let's say, $100 for various toys coming up over the next few months, you could wind up spending about $150 for all those toys because of the tariffs that are now being imposed.
And it's why you're seeing a lot of people stockpiling right now. They're trying to get that in, buy those future gifts before the tariffs really hit, because it can have a big impact on a lot of American families.
It's going to have a huge impact on a lot of families out there.
Well, while Americans in the world brace for the full impact of the Trump tariffs, the head of the largest U.S. automaker is revealing the looming cost in actual dollars. General Motors CEO Mary Barra says that the tariffs will slash her company's earnings between $4 and $5 billion this year. This is the first such forecast released by a major company and was delayed a few days after President Trump signed an executive order easing some auto levies, details of which we don't have. Well, it comes a day after a report showing that the U.S. economy actually contracted in the first quarter of this year. President Trump blaming his predecessor, Joe Biden, while his economic advisors played down those numbers.
Right. She said that the economy contracted. Right. I want to just grab this right quick. This is 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 36. It says, "Behold, the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slacked. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment." Right? Which we see that's the contractions, right? The birth pains, right? And what's tied to these birth pains, the birth, right? Ultimately, the coming of Yahweh Shai is tied to the impending doom and destruction of this kingdom, man. Right? And the economy plays a big part in that. Like that saying in the world, money makes the world go around. Right? You fuck up the circulation of money, that shit completely upends everything. You see?
Yeah, that was the reason why empires fell. The one, hey, you look at what happened with Rome, and other Edomite empires, Spain, France, Italy.
Right. Hey, and that's how you know that flow of the money, they needed to keep moving because everybody's in debt to each other, man.
Exactly.
So if that stops, somebody's not getting paid, which causes a trickle down effect, right? That causes the crash, man.
Yep. Verse 39, "Even so shall not this plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." Right? So, this is just going to impact people's lives in every facet, right? These contractions of the economy, right? The stagnation, right? That's going to hit the job losses, right? The hyperinflation, all of these factors just simultaneously mollywopping the shit out of these people, man. Where they're just gonna be, not knowing what the fuck's going on. Like, damn, that came out of nowhere. Yeah. Quick. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Bro, still want to get this other article? I mean, you pretty much made the point about the topics.
I mean, we want to go into it real quick. Ain't no biggie.
Okay.
Good news. The average Gen Zer in the workforce now has a net worth of $22,000. Wait, no, that's a mistake. Negative 22,000. So what's the actual good news? By the time they hit 27, the average Gen Zer will finally have a positive net worth of $8,142. Hey, progress is progress. But how did Gen Z get this way? Is it really all that avocado toast spending? Or was that the millennials? Today on the Infographic Show, we'll dive deep into the depressing story of why Gen Z is the poorest generation ever. It's no surprise that Gen Z is struggling, and a big part of the problem comes down to money. Take Maddie, a 25-year-old working at a senior living home in Pennsylvania. She puts it bluntly, everyone is going to be in debt their whole life. I don't want to be, but I have this feeling that no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, there is always going to be some kind of debt that I have. It's a legitimate concern, but why don't they just try working for a change? Pull themselves up by their good old bootstraps. Well, apparently they do work. It just doesn't seem to help them much. One Gen Z Reddit user shared this fond memory about their first full-time job. My first full-time job was at Deloitte, and they paid me $36,000 in 2019. I went into credit card debt to pay for the train to work. A full 59% of Gen Z reported feelings of stress and anxiety about their finances, the highest of any generation. While Gen Z is generally stress and anxiety prone, it turns out that they have some very real reasons to be concerned. Wages are bad, debts are up, and why is all this happening? Well, let's see what the data tells us.
And I just want to, just cut that short right quick. I wanted to, tie that in just to tie into the moral decadence, the moral decay, because ultimately, these people have no hope.
Right.
When you get down to the root of it, these people are faced with the reality of life, and they don't have a single solution to get them out of the plight that comes with being in this hegemony. This hegemony weighs down on the psyche more heavy than people realize, man. But they don't understand what's really at play. The witchcraft, the sorcery, the enchantments, all of these things. It's not something that's just by coincidence why people are feeling this stress, this level of stress and anxiety. Because as brothers talk about, those are demons, man.
Yeah.
You see? So these people are getting attacked by demons nonstop.
All right. And if I can add to that, because the like you said, the reason why this is like that, because the people don't understand how they ended up in this predicament. All right. Because like the statement that was made in the video, the motto here in America is like, chase the American dream. Every man has the equal opportunity to pretty much, come up on a level. You just pull up your bootstraps and put the work in, and you can be successful. But what we are pretty much seeing more and more is that the people are beginning to realize that that's a lie. That's not an attainable goal anymore, man. It used to be back, 50s, 60s on, whatever. But 2025, that is the furthest thing from the truth, man. Because as the example they made with the girl, she went into debt just to get to work. And so now you're having people in that same position to where people are, trying to find the best job that they can find that pays the most. And a lot of those jobs, they have to go out of the way to do it. So it nullifies the paycheck, because if you're paying buku money for gas, all right, the wear and tear on your car, which is eventually going, that nullifies the point of view even going to work, all the way out there to do that shit, man. So just showing you that the American dream is some bullshit. This is Sirach 34:1. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools, because only a fool still believes in that motto of the American dream. All right, that's not reality anymore, man. Because when you understand how we got into this position, Esau makes everybody go into some type of debt. Debt is what gets this country, to pretty much thrive. All right. That's why when you go into the debt clock, it gives you a list of all the debts that America has, and that number is climbing every second. Okay. And the main reason that is like that is because Esau Edom is using usury on the people. All right. And if he was a truly righteous ruler, then you will understand that look, the way to fix this, if he applied the laws, well, you will have the year of Jubilee, which just to speak on that real quick. All right, it talks about how every 7 years it's a relinquishing of debt to where the people are pretty much freed from that debt and they're able to pretty much try to start again on their on their own to get by. But Esau doesn't do that. And this is like the debt just increases. You get in a further and further hole. That's why the scriptures refer to this place as a pit. Now, outside of that, I wanted to grab this because this is a mindset that the small hats have put into the American society to make it to where, like I said earlier, these people are retarded to where we see at the point now Gen Z doesn't want to work anymore. All right, it's all about them trying to find that next fix to get money. All right, so let's go into this real quick. So Esau Edom made it to where you have they had it termed from this book called the International Jew. All right, so they had this term: get money and make money. Okay, so I want to go into that real quick. All right, so it says the only way to break down this strong safeguard of society, a creative laboring class of sturdy characters, was to sow other ideas among it. And the most dangerous of all the ideas sown is that which substituted get for mate. With the required manipulation of the money and food markets, enough pressure could be brought to bear on the ultimate consumers to give point to the idea of get, and it was not long before the internal relations of American business were totally upset, with small hats at the head of the banking system, the small hats at the head of both the conservative and radical elements of the labor movement, and most potent of all, the small hat idea sold through the minds of the working men. What idea? The idea of get instead of make. The idea of get is a vicious, antisocial, and destructive idea when held alone, but when held in company with mate, as in second in importance, it is legitimate and constructive. As soon as a man or class is inoculated with the strictly small hat idea of getting mine, getting while the getting is good, honestly, if you can, dishonestly, if you must, but get it, all of which are notes of this treasonable philosophy, the very sentiment of human society loses its adhesiveness and begins to crumble. So Esau pretty much made it to where the people have become in this selfish mindset to where they're trying to, individually become rich instead of nation building, because that's really what makes a society strong is, nation building to where your family has a business, their family has a business, and that's where you can, network and trade, and that's how commerce is made. But Esau put that individualistic mindset in everybody, and that's what took away from the building of this society, man.
Right.
Just getting that quick extra out of that. That was heavy when I came across that. And this is why with the aspect, you just tying it into what you said, the moral decadence, the aspect of getting money. People are willing to sell their soul to get money. All right, to where nobody wants to work a meaningful job anymore, man. People want to, get quick money, fast money. This is why scamming is at an all-time high. This is why everybody wants to be an influencer. Nobody really wants to work anything that's going to be of importance to the country versus themselves, man. You see these other countries. Just look at the heathen, for example. All right, these heathen come over here to America, make money, and then send that money back to their country. All right, for their families, man. That's how you build generational wealth. That's what them small hats do. Because when you go into how Amalek doesn't do business outside of their own community. All right, they refuse to put money in another nation's hands, man. All right, they'll use you to make money, but when it comes to actually making somebody else profit, they will not do that shit with another nation, man. Which is really, they get that from us, because that's how our laws teach us how to do. But you got it.
Yeah, now speaking on Amalek, like if you go up into like New York, You know, they have their own doctors, they have their own
Yep.
hospitals, their own ambulance, their own schools, their own, like they're in their own world. You know what I'm saying? I just want to add to that point you had made about, you know, that individual spirit, you know, that pursuit of riches, you know, getting riches so quick, right? This is Proverbs 13 and 11. It says, wealth from get rich. And this is Proverbs 13 and 11 in the NLT, excuse me. Wealth from get rich quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time, you know, and this is why we see primarily amongst the tribes, you know, we don't see wealth sustained generation after generation, you know, because we've been taught to be individual, you know, focused about our advancements instead of thinking about the nation at large, right? We weren't
Yeah.
taught to try to focus on forwarding ourselves. And that really goes to show forth as well, as the scriptures say, this is not our rest.
Yep.
You know, we're too far behind the 8 ball to be trying to concern ourselves with, oh, we got to try and catch up. As we brought out that article before, it's going to take you 250 years to catch up to the wealth of the Edomites, man.
That's
And
right.
they're not going to let that happen.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
best bet would be to just detach yourself spiritually and cleave to the Lord. Right?
Mhm.
Brother
Mhm.
got this here on this is a spirit right here. The brother got it right here. Shalom Maki Al Bashim El Shai Bashim Kakarash Prakata.
Shalom. Yeah, Bashma Shah, Bashma Kakarash.
I'm gonna just read this right quick, and then that'll be all. Unless brothers had anything. Jeremiah 51 and 6, it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon, deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense, man. So, hey, you know, with all that, you know, has been said throughout the course of this lesson, right, it's evident why you should be detaching yourself spiritually from this place, man. Right? This place is in ruin, right? It's already set to be destroyed. And we're literally living in the end times of this kingdom. And it's not going to be a transition of honky dory into the NWO. No, it's going to be treacherous, man. You know? Brothers, had anything else? God. Hey, well, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson through the Holy Spirit. We're going to close giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us the truth and were well. Peace, blessings, and mercy to the house of David. Habayafta without a hope for the elect. To you always say shalom.
Shalom.